and he understood the word and had understanding of the vision. In those days, I, Daniel, was mourning for 3 weeks. I ate no delicacies, no meat or wine entered my mouth. I'm going to read that again. I ate no delicacies, no meat or wine entered my mouth, nor did I anoint myself at all for the full 3 weeks. On the 24th day of the first month, as I was standing on the bank of the great river, right there, that is it. On the 24th day of the first month.
Now,
That's what showed me. Every Hebrew should know what this is.
What's the first month? Everybody should know what's the first
Yep.
month. All right. Now, break that down. So when I first saw that, now I'm the type of person, when I see something that I've never seen before, I start to pause. I pause. I humble myself, and I ask the Most High, how come I didn't see this? Please show me. That looks like the first month, which is Abib, and on the law specifically said on the 14th and 15th, this is when you begin Passover and unleavened bread.
Right.
But why would the text specifically point out that Daniel said he ate no bread, no nothing, didn't take no wine, no liquid, and he didn't even anoint himself? He went further to say, I didn't even anoint myself. And then he said, for 3 whole weeks. And the scripture is so detailed that it says, and the 4th and 20th day of the first month, as I was by the side. So that's when his fast was over. Right. Passover and unleavened bread should be in progress. As a prophet of the Most High, Daniel should be keeping Passover and unleavened bread. But I had to ask myself, I know Daniel is way greater than me. And we're supposed to listen to the prophet, the Tanakh, and the Torah, and the testimonies.
Yeah.
And he's a prophet.
Yeah.
So I had to say, you know what? What did I miss? Why did not Daniel keep the feast of Pesach and unleavened bread? And I had to find out why he didn't do it. And it had to be a legitimate reason why he didn't do it. So now you can go and explain it, because I'm kind of throw out the scene.
Okay. So you are 100% correct. This is what I mean by the timelines. And when you start studying the timelines of what's going on, you'll see, especially in captivity, that there's something interesting going on, or not going on. So let me ask you this before I answer this. Leviticus 11 gives us the dietary laws, right?
Sure did.
Let me ask you this. Do a Hebrew, an Israelite, do we look at swine as food?
We shouldn't.
We don't acknowledge it as food.
Right.
It is an animal, but it is not food for us. We don't acknowledge it as such. See, what we call something, this is important, because you're going to see where I'm going with this. What we call something means something.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't call something, then you're not acknowledging its existence.
Because they got a name for a reason.
Right? So when you look up through the text, up into captivity, you know what you'll see that's being kept? You'll see Passover being kept multiple times. It says they kept unleavened bread, or they kept Passover. They also, I believe, kept the coat by name. It's called the Feast of Booths. By name. Naming is important, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Absolutely.
What don't we see here?
We don't see Passover and we don't see unleavened bread.
We don't see it even named. It didn't say in the season. Right. It didn't say that. It did not acknowledge what they would have understood to be in Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm.
But they gave a date where something occurred. So we who read this, who understands, know when it happened, but it's not named because it didn't exist during that time. Oh, I'm just making stuff up. I'll show you another one. Give me a second. Let me unpack this.
Yeah.
He said he didn't anoint himself for 3 full weeks. 3 full weeks, 21 days. Now we know that at sunset on Abib, you're supposed to eat the Passover. Then you keep unleavened bread for 7 days. This man, this mighty prophet, did not consume the Passover sacrifice or unleavened bread during the entirety of the feast. During the entirety of it. Now, let's jump back to Numbers 9. It says, unless you're unclean by a dead body, or unless you're on a long journey.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, if these two are not the case, a long journey to where?
To Jerusalem.
To Jerusalem. To Jerusalem.
Right.
It hadn't been named, but that is what it's referencing. You're on a long journey. Like in Acts chapter 2, when all the people was able to hear them speak in a tongue, in their native tongue, and they came from all these different places. That was at YaHUaH. All these people came from everywhere. It was a long journey.
Context.
Let's say someone got held up and they couldn't make that, then they were eligible to keep it the following month. But if that wasn't the case, then they were in their sin. So here we see Daniel not keep this feast. But he's not on a long journey. He ain't going nowhere.
Right.
And for all we know, he ain't unclean for touching the dead body, or there would have been some mention. And what the biggest thing is that it is not even named. It did not say in the season of Pesach, in the season of unleavened bread, or anything else. And we have another witness. Let's bring out 2 witnesses to this. Let's go to Haggai.
Let me ask you a question while you bring that up. If a leader read this,
yes,
and it's revealed to them that Daniel did not keep the prophet, what should they do at that point?
They should investigate. That's what they should do. They should investigate. It's not telling them that they all of a sudden got to be like, oh my goodness, and then drop everything that they believe. What it should do is to cause them to investigate. That's what, if they had never noticed that. So let me preface that. If they never noticed that, and that is then revealed to them, they should actually humbly, I'm not being arrogant when I say this, they should humbly just be quiet and investigate. Why do I say that? That's what I did. When I saw that and I had not known that, I had not paid attention to that, I was like, I literally did this. And I sat back. And when we're in Ghana and other conversations are happening, and I was sitting next to Moray Noriyahu, I'm sitting next to him. And I'm like, And while conversations are going on, I asked him, well, what about this here? And I started pointing out stuff. And then he answered. And I said, literally, I'm like, So help me understand this. And he answered it. And I'm like, I wasn't necessarily saying I was satisfied with his answer, but he presented an answer. And I'm like, So what it told me I needed to do was investigate. Now, unbeknownst to y'all, when I went upstairs and went to my room, I started looking up stuff there. I started that night. Because I'm like, what am I missing? Is he right about this? I'm not going to take his word for it.
Right.
I don't make decisions in doctrine just like that. I have to process it. I have to investigate it. Then I have to teach my family. If I deem that is worthy of me changing my stance on, I'm going to just switch up like that. But man, the more and more I dig, the more I'm like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So Daniel did not keep Pesach. It did not even acknowledge that it was in a season of Pesach. Right? Let's go to Haggai chapter 2.
Haggai chapter 2.
Let's go to Haggai chapter 2. Now, context of this is also in captivity. Haggai was a contemporary of Ezra.
Oh, just a reminder, Daniel was in captivity.
Yes, there you go. Thank you. Daniel was in captivity. There was the Babylonian captivity. Haggai is a contemporary of Ezra. He's also mentioned in the book of Ezra. You can cross-reference the events and they line up. This is what I've been working on before I was going to bring this out. So now I'm sort of bringing it out on your platform. But here we go, because it's important, because it's confirming what I was just saying. The context, what just happened in chapter 1, is that the Father speaks to them and goes into this process of saying, consider your ways. He was withholding their sustenance, their progress. These things that would have been blessings, they were not receiving them because his temple laid in ruins. And everyone was concerned about their house and what they had going on. And they was not considering the Father. So he said, consider your ways. You do thus and so. You know, you sow, but you can't reap. Like these type of things. He's go down this line of withholding from them so they could think of why are we not receiving. They wasn't thinking about it. So he had to lay it out for them. All right. And then we get to here. Chapter 2, verse 1. In the 7th month, on the 21st day of the month, the word of YaHUaH came by the hand of Haggai the prophet. Speak now, Zerubbabel, son of... Actually, I can stop there. I'm going to read this again. In the 7th month, on the 21st day of the month. Now, to all of the students of Torah, what is happening in the 7th month on the 21st day of the month?
Feast of Ingathering. Sukkot.
Let's get all 3 names. Feast of Ingathering, Feast of Booths, Sukkot. That is what's happening. As you read the context here, verse 3, who is left among you who saw this house in its former glory? Like he's back on his house. His house needs to be rebuilt. So the extended context of this is that Cyrus have gave a decree for them to go back and rebuild the temple. They start rebuilding the temple. This is Ezra. They're getting picked on. What is his name? Artaxerxes. He comes into power. Someone's able to get him to stop this. And then in Ezra, I can't remember the exact chapter. I can pull it up and I can put it out there for you. But it's like Ezra, I think 3:14. But don't quote me on that. I'll get it before the night is over. But it says, in the building of the temple stopped until the 2nd year of Darius. When you get to the 1st chapter of this, of Haggai, you know where they're at? They're at the 2nd year of Darius.
Darius, right.
This right here is happening as you read the context. We're not going to read all of it. We have a responsibility to verify what I'm saying. Don't just take it for face value, but verify what I'm saying. Definitely don't dismiss it. Because I don't believe many people have noticed this. I can't speak for all people. I'm not that arrogant to say that.
I mean, we already have one person admitting they didn't even see that.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, so if we're missing these things, what else are we missing?
Right.
So in the 7th month, on the 21st day of the month, the word of YaHUaH came to the hand of the prophet Haggai. They are in Sukkot, Feast of Booths, Feast of Ingathering. But as you read the context here, no one is keeping it.
You might watch when you say there in the timing it would happen.
Correct. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you know
this is the season. This is the season for it. Yes. Thank you.
And the Most High didn't say, "Hey, where your tenant?"
Right. So, but what else? What else did we establish with Daniel that we can conclude is here as well that is not showing? He does not acknowledge the season.
Okay, yeah.
He does not acknowledge a feast. Why? Because they were not keeping it. They weren't keeping it. There's no evidence in this chapter. This book is only 2 chapters long. It's not much to read.
Right. And
7 months,
hold on a second,
day.
before you do that, in the past, as I hear teachers teach, just because it says the 7th month, 21st day or whatnot, they automatically assume Sukkot is going on. And then they would say it was during Sukkot that this happened, when the scripture is never shy of saying what's going on, like you said.
Right.
So just to prove their point, or because they're holding on to it, they're going to insert that Sukkot is going on.
Yeah. And that is called reading into the text. That is the definition of a presupposition.
Or adding to the text, right?
And if you want to go biblically speaking, you are adding to the text. Right? It's a little less egregious as someone saying something is a law and is not, or you are removing a law. You're just ascribing something to the text that's not there. That's definitely less egregious. But you are reading into the text, and as teachers, as leaders, anyone who's holding a position, what in this walk, whether it's a moray, a rabbi, a pastor, whatever the case we call ourselves these days, we have to be responsible and take what's there and not read our thoughts into the text. That is called eisegesis. You are reading what you believe to be in the text. So it did not acknowledge. And the way you understand this is because you have this here, but on the places where they kept it, they always named it. When you go back to Ezra and you get to Ezra 6, as a matter of fact, before Ezra 6, because Ezra 6 is where they kept Passover. I think it's Ezra 4. It took a few years. It took maybe like 4 years, something like that, to rebuild the temple. And the first thing they kept, here's the thing. The first thing they kept was the coat. Guess what they did? They named it. They said what they were doing. So why in captivity is this not spoken of? I'll give you one more. This is sort of anecdotal, but I think it means something. I think it's telling. Let's go to Esther.
You're having too much fun, man.
This is actually this has been energizing. Like, it's been so reinvigorating to have me dive into the text with my eyes wide open, right? Like, what's there for me to discover that I was blind to, but now I see? You hear what I'm saying?
I hear what you're saying.
So give me a second. Let me pull it up.
That's the what?
I think it's chapter 3. Matter of fact, I know it's chapter 3. I'm looking for the specific verse. I had it set aside because I was hoping that I had a chance to touch on it. Let me see. Okay, here we go. All right. So again, this is not as explicit, but if we're taking the totality, if we're taking this stuff like we're a lawyer, right? If we're lawyers and we're prosecutors and we're presenting a case, then we're taking all the evidence. We're looking at all the evidence. Some evidence is weightier than the other evidence, right? So this is something that's worth mentioning because it's interesting, but it's not as explicit as the previous two, but it's definitely worth talking about because of the previous two. So in Esther, it says, Esther chapter 3, verse 7. It says, in the first month, which is the month of Nisan, the first month. So at this point, they're going by a different name. Abib is Nisan. It's the same month. You can look it up. It's the same month. So we have a place marker. All right. And then we get to, where is it at? Go on, let me continue reading. So in the first month, which is the month of Nisan, in the 12th year of King Asherus, they cast pur before Haman day after day and they cast it month after month to the 12th month, which is the month of Adar. Then the king's scribes were summoned on the 13th day of the first month. The 13th, like, we got to pay attention to the date. The 13th day of the first month. So what's supposed to happen the very next day?
Passover.
Passover. Not that it has to say the day of preparation. It doesn't have to say that. But we can see this is the day before. Right? And then it says, in the edict, according to all Haman commanded, was written to the king's straps and to the governors over all the provinces and to the officials of all the people. And I'm sorry, I was looking for something specific. Basically, he gives this decree. Oh, okay, it's coming up later. So jump down to Esther 12. We just read that, 13. Letters were sent by couriers to all the king's provinces with instructions to destroy, to kill, to annihilate the Jews, all young and old, women and children, in one day, the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month of Adar. So this is what we have. We have the introduction of this sequence in the first month. Then we have on the 13th day of the month, something is happening. The people are being summoned, right? And then the decree is happening for the month of Adar, the 12th month. You following?
Right.
So what then ends up happening is they find out, Esther finds out, they get together, they start talking about what they're going to do. And Esther says to go on a 3-day fast. Now, there is no indication. I will say this. I cannot confirm 100%. I'm going to always be intellectually honest. I cannot confirm 100% that this is the same day or the next day. It does not say. But it appears that this is the same day as this information is being made known. Esther then says we're going to go on a 3-day fast. Are you following?
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, everything is revealed and all of that stuff. And then from the result of all this declaration and stuff like that, then she said, in that case, then what we're going to do is go on a 3-day fast.
We're going to go on a 3-day fast. Yes. So it is a assumption, but it's a safe assumption that this is the same day. All right. Let's be honest. So that would mean if that is indeed the case. So this is why I say this scripture is worth consideration, even though it's not as clear as the other one. This is worth consideration. If that is indeed the case, then that also means, yet again, that they did not keep Pesach, right? That would mean that. And interestingly enough, in Esther 8, verse 9, this is anecdotal, but it's worth consideration. The king's scribes were summoned at that time in the 3rd month, which is the month of Sivan, on the 23rd day. Well, do we know what happens in the 3rd month? Shavuot. Shavuot happens. So 2 feast days in the same year has passed and no mention of it. Given what I have seen with the other texts, I would assume that's because they weren't keeping them. I can't hear you, Lo.
It's kind of like a pattern is being developed.
It's a pattern. So that's why I say this one isn't as clear, but it's good to look at and take into consideration. They were not keeping it, so it was not being mentioned.
So it was Esther 8. What was the verse on there?
Verse 9 for that one. So look again, recap. They're at the door of Pesach, the 13th day of the first month. Then they go on I presume that they go on a 3-day fast, right? And then few chapters later, we get to the 23rd day of the third month, which is the month that they keep Sukkot, if their calendar was, as has been stated by people, 364 days, their date should actually happen on the same time, if that is indeed the case. If it varies, then maybe, we can't prove either way. But it is plausible. It is plausible that they didn't keep Shavuot. I will submit to you that they didn't. Just like Daniel didn't keep Pesach, just like Haggai and the rest of them, because he was acknowledging other people around, when you read the context, that they didn't keep Sukkot. And right here, it looks like, again, that another feast has gone by that was never even acknowledged.
So,
what are your thoughts?
And everyone
let me interview you. What are your thoughts?
No, I mean, it's like you said. See, the thing about it, you're being honest.
Yeah.
First two are very clear. These two, you can kind of infer it because you have to make educated decisions based on what you're being read. So that's fair. Scripture say you need two or three witnesses let every word be established. You got two really good one at least, right?
Yeah.
So those, the second and the fourth, the third and fourth. So yeah, you can kind of read into it a little bit, but you're making a better judgment based on what's written.
Right.
So I can respect that rather than you saying that's definitive.
Yeah, I'm I'm gonna always try to be as much as I possibly can intellectually honest. If I don't know something, I will tell you that I don't know.
Right.
And
we will have a question and answer session at the end. So right now, let's just all listen, and then we'll go from there. Because I know Kimberly had a question about how do we keep or honor the Father in regards to the feast day. So we'll get to all of that. All right, and the questions at the end, because this is a very important topic that we must all consider. You see what I'm saying? Whether you agree or not, but at least consider the information that is being shared. All right, go on, Aki. And hey, Jay, you free to jump in. You already know, but
hey, I got a time that I am going to jump in. I'm waiting for a certain piece to get here.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's it for there. Where's the next place you want to go? Because there's so many other things that we can cover. But I just want to again reiterate that, like, we have to take all the evidence into account, and that is evidence.
And I know people always want proof. Where does it say? Can you get the scripture where it says he say, "I will choose a Jerusalem," and then when did he establish that?
Okay, that is in 2 Chronicles.
Y'all take notes. 2 Chronicles,
chapter 6, and actually, it's a lot going on in both of these, in 6 and 7.
It'd be good to kind of mention when he first mentioned it, as far as where he said a place where I'll choose, and then when did he choose it?
Okay, so if we're going to go to a place where, if we're going to say a place where I'll choose, then we need to go to Deuteronomy 16 first.
Deuteronomy 16?
Yep.
Okay. It's always good to go to Torah.
It's always good to go to Torah. Like we got to make sure that our foundation is Torah. Like, we got to make sure that is our foundation. Like, we can subscribe to the whole book, right? I mean, I subscribe to the whole book, but we have to make sure that if we are seeing inconsistencies, that we test these inconsistencies with what has been given in Torah, right? We got to test those inconsistencies if we believe they are inconsistencies.
Right. What verse?
6. Oh, you talking about Deuteronomy? I'm sorry. I was looking for something else. Give me 1 second. My bad, thoughts.
Yeah, I think verse 2 talks about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first few verses, actually.
Yeah.
Deuteronomy 16. It says, observe the month of Abib and keep the Passover to YaHUaH your Elohim, for in the month of Abib, YaHUaH your Elohim brought you out of Egypt by night. And you shall offer the Passover, what? The Passover what? Sacrifice. We got to remember that Passover is a sacrifice. This is why the Levites play a role in Pesach.
Mm-hmm.
So you shall offer the Passover sacrifice to YaHUaH your Elohim from the flock or the herd at the place that YaHUaH will choose to make his name dwell there.
Let's stop there for a second. So, and we must be diligent in when we read this. It said, thou shalt therefore, this is this law, sacrifice the Passover unto YaHUaH thy Elohim of the flock and the herd in the place which YaHUaH shall choose.
Yes.
Shall. This is prophetic. This is like a prophecy.
Future.
He's making. Yep. Choose to place his name there. So he's saying, I am going to choose a place. But look at the context of it, though. It's talking about a Passover, though. He's saying he's going to choose a place to put his name there. We cannot read this and say, okay, it's something else. Take it for what he said. When the Most High says something, he means it. So he's going to choose a place. You don't get to choose it.
Correct.
You do not get to choose a place where the Most High said he's going to do something. I think a lot of times we're arrogant and thinking that we can just do whatever to please the Most High rather than hearkening to the word and what he say.
Yeah.
When he said, do something, we say, no, we're going to do something to please you. And it's not something that he asked for. And I think this verse right here to me is cut and dry to me. Now, he said it in many other areas, but this is what we need to pay attention to when he say, thou shalt. The place where he choose to put his name, not where we choose. Yeah, go ahead.
No, that's good. We got to stop with this idea that however we choose to worship the Father is acceptable. We have to stop thinking that way. Though he was not speaking about the feast days, when he was giving them instructions on what to do when they came into the land, he was like, you should not worship me like how they did thus and so, right? Just like you cannot offer a type of sacrifice, you cannot, if you sin and the requirement is a burnt offering, you cannot go offer him a loaf of bread, a loaf offering, a sheaf offering, if that's not what he's requiring. Don't be Cain. Stop trying to operate outside the parameters. There is a certain way he wants us to worship him. And we need to humble ourselves and realize that our feelings don't matter. We can sing songs, but if we're not being obedient, it doesn't matter. They worship me with their what?
Mouth.
Their mouths, but their hearts are far from me. Obedience is better than what?
Sacrifice.
Sacrifice. So you could bring the fattest lamb, the most luxurious lamb. He still rather you obey. So we have to humble ourselves and worship him the way that he says to worship him. And when it comes to the moed, the appointed times, also known as the feast days, he prescribed a way to do this. And when that infrastructure is not in place, i.e., Daniel, i.e. Haggai, i.e. Nehemiah, i.e. Esther, we don't see this happening. We don't see it. Even when we can pinpoint the dates, we don't see it. But soon as they return and the infrastructure is in place, immediately they go back to offering sacrifices. And then the very next Moed, Sukkot, they keep that.
I was gonna say, y'all, I think we probably should get an example of exactly what you just stated, Moray, about them coming out of captivity. How does it look when they're coming out of captivity? And that way we can see an example of what that looks like. The occasion that's being brought forward. Why are the people so joyous at this time when they get to go to the feast after coming out of captivity? It's a joyous occasion because you've been missing something. You haven't been able to attend. You haven't been able to perform or do. So there's more scriptures out here, and again, it's if you have not watched Maury Amir's lesson, I highly encourage you all to go and watch it. It has a lot of information in it that what will help to show you the path that's coming along here.
Yeah.
The mindset that it brings me to is, my father, my real life blood father, telling me, hey, you can't go play no football games. You can't go to the stadium. You can't play no football. You punished. But then I go to a football game after he tells me that, and I go play the game, and I get 8 touchdowns, 8 rushing touchdowns, and 2 of them receiving, and I got all the first downs, and I'm named one of the greatest. I had one of the greatest performances in history. And then I go run to my father and I tell him, hey, Father, look at what I did. And he's going to remind me, I told you couldn't play no football games.
Yeah.
That's me being disobedient. That's not me listening. I'm being rebellious when he says not to do so. When we read here, it says, thou shalt sacrifice the Passover unto YaHUaH thy Elohim in the place which he shall choose his name there. That's a specific instruction. And that's how my mind thinks of it, y'all, when I see something like that.
I have a comment if I'm able.
Please do.
Like I see I think a few comments by now, that like we should, or not we, I'm sorry, like brothers or, someone else should actually go and look at the Hebrew regarding this.
Oh, we do.
And I don't know if it was the Hebrew that convinced us all that we was supposed to keep it in the first place. But if that is the case that we went, I know I didn't see the Hebrew in depth when I was instructed to keep, the feast or observe them how we thought we were supposed to be observing them. But I do see this comment, and I've seen it a few times, about going back now into the Hebrew to look at it slower than what's being done in English. So I don't know if that's possible, but I do know you brothers are, y'all all put your mind together. You know what I mean?
Amir, I'll have you later on break down a Hebrew word. I think you mentioned olam. Man, which is a Hebrew word. So we do go into the Hebrew to get the context of what it means. And even going into the Hebrew about the feast, the word feast itself, right? Matter of fact, do feast. Just a compliment, man. Brandon Lewis said, I cut with a butcher knife. He said, man, this brother here seemed to cut with a scalpel.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's do the Hebrew.
Let's do the Hebrew. So that way.
Let's go to Exodus 12. Let's go back to when this is given.
Exodus 12. Okay.
Exodus 12, verse 14. This is so important. So yeah, let's do the Hebrew.
Oh yeah, the Hebrew, boy. The Hebrew is what really like it brings it all together.
Are you there? I see it on. Oh, you already there. All right. So what we will see when we're reading this in English, let me pull it up in English on my screen too. And I'm put this next to each other on my screen. All right. So we read it in English. This day shall be for you a memorial, which is zikaron. And it says, and you shall keep, which zikaron, though it's related to zakar, is actually it is manifested different than zakar, which zakar is to bring to mind. Zikaron is something that's essentially brought into a manifestation. So zikaron holds the connotation of if you do a certain set of things, then that's a memorial. Or the 12 stones that when they crossed over Jericho that we brought up earlier, that is a memorial. And what's the other one? The stones in the ephod. That is a moment. That's a zikaron. Zakar is to bring to mind. That is to think of. Right? So you shall have for you a zikaron, a Yom Zikaron, Memorial Day, and you shall keep it as a feast. I started my last video with this because I like to look at this because this is the point of reference for everything that comes after this. So where it says you shall keep, I said in that video, please watch it if you want me to unpack all of that because I'm not going to do it here. But there's 4 different words that I realized were being used for keep in Exodus chapter 12 alone. And on this specific one was unique in comparison to the other ones because where it says, and you shall keep is chagag. And that says pilgrimage. It's a procession. It is about movement. It is you're going somewhere. This is the same word that's used for Exodus 23 when it says 3 times a year. They should keep a feast. They should present. That is Chagag. That's the one being used. That's not Chag, which is a general feast. Chag is a general feast. Chagag is the one where we get this connotation of going somewhere. It's the same word. Again, if you watched that video, I've already unpacked this, but I'm going to reference what I referenced there just for brevity. It's the same word that's used in Exodus 5 when Moses goes to Pharaoh and says, let my people go so that we may go and keep a feast to YaHUaH. That's the same word, chagag. They're going somewhere to do something. Right here it says, and you shall keep it, chagag, as a feast, chag. Those 2 words, if you pull it up in the Hebrew, I don't have control of your screen. Go back up and go to the actual Hebrew sentence.
I'm sorry. Where do you want me to do?
Just hit back.
Back. Okay.
Yeah, because you had the sentence up. There you go.
So, no, it looks different. I can't really see it on your screen.
What verse are you on?
Exodus 12:14.
14. That's what
They can look it up. They can look it up later. It's all there.
You probably
it's
have
all
a different
there.
version.
Well, and we also no. Well, I mean, the Hebrew is going to be the Hebrew.
Yeah, that's
it doesn't matter the version, but it says in there it is actually. Where is it at? On my screen, it is that word is chagag.
Oh, you mean this
Oto
here?
chag.
Oh, she was
V'chag otim ato chag. Keep it as a feast. To keep chagag as a feast, chag. 2 different Hebrew words. And when you look up this word in the Torah, because we're using Blue Letter Bible, So anyone can look it up. When you look up this word in Torah, with the exception of Exodus 5, which still relates to it as far as how it functions, going somewhere, every other time is used for the 3 pilgrimage feasts. It's only used to talk about them in Torah.
Can you simplify it? So are you saying, just so if they're confused, Hagag and Gag, I may be saying it were they're both feasts, right? Though in terms of the word,
They're feast in the sense of, yes, Chagag comes from Chag. They're
right.
related.
They're related,
But
right?
with the Hebrew, a word is the when you start going back to the roots, as you go out more and you start putting different prefixes and suffixes and it goes through this morphology, it begins to take on a whole new meaning, even
Right.
though it's related. So you can
Related, right.
usually get an understanding of the word from looking at the root. But as you look at it, and this is what I was trying to have you go to on the screen, but I can't see the Hebrew on your screen. But when you go to what's on your screen, I do see the Hebrew writing. I just can't make it out. That is how it's actually written. So you got your prefixes, you got your suffixes, you got all these different things in there. But those 2 words are separate. Because one of them, while it is related to a feast, it is to go somewhere for a feast.
Right.
That's the difference between Chagag and Chag. That is the difference. So this is mentioned here. It's mentioned Exodus 20. It's mentioned Exodus 23. It's mentioned in Leviticus 23. Like it's repeated over and like there's no mistake that this is telling you to go somewhere to do something.
So
What are your thoughts?
So difference of keeping the feast versus memorializing it. Can you explain that?
The difference between keeping a feast and memorializing it. I think this is complex because we have a certain idea when it comes to memorializing. Just like we have a certain idea when we hear the word forever. Like you briefly pointed out olam, and how we view forever is not necessarily how that word is used in Hebrew,
Right.
even though it's translated in English to forever. So when you look at memorial, like memorial to a degree, like could be looked at as just something that someone does that represents something to the English mind. But in Hebrew, it's more specific.
I believe you had a scripture for that, like where the Most High said, "I remember or call to mind" or something like that. I don't know if you can remember that. That'll make it a lot easier for them to understand.
I don't have that scripture pulled up. I know I talked about that in the last video.
Right.
So I don't have that scripture pulled up. But that's what I was explaining though. That's what I was explaining earlier. Zakar is to call to mind, is to remember, which is the same thing as zikaron, but how you remember is different. I gave the example in the video of zakar is I'm not going to put my hand on the stove because I remember the last time I did that, it burned my hand. So I'm calling it to mind. So if you were to function in Pesach from this, you can call to mind this Pesach, what it's about, what happened. That would be Zakar. To memorialize Pesach specifically, would be to do what he has instructed you to do. Thus, and so. And then it says, and that will be a memorial for you. So one is to think of. The other is something that you're doing. But it's not just whatever you want to do. So how you are choosing to memorialize it isn't how the Father established is the memorial. The memorial for when the Father says it is that you do these statues and that shall be a memorial for you. That should be a memorial. It's not just you are in captivity and you want to do this because you love the Father. Well, that's not how he told you the memorial is supposed to go. That is us doing what is right in our own eyes. Even though we love him, I was doing it too. I am just as guilty as the next person. But now, knowing what I know, I can't do that anymore. I can't, in good faith, in good conscience, do that anymore. So how we view a memorial in English is a little bit different. And it might even be different depending on who you're asking. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, because it's like the Most High saying the memorialization of these feasts is according to what he commanded the fathers.
Correct. Yes.
Which has a certain preconditions in how you do it.
Yes.
Or requirements of how you do it. So us using the word memorialize is kind of incorrect, because even memorialize, there's a certain way you do it according to how he said the fathers, our ancient fathers, to do it. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now, what is so memorializing? What about when people say commemorate?
Okay, so that's a safer word. But they're related. But it's a safer word to allow yourself to disconnect from the text. So here's something that I personally am not going to do, but could be something that someone does for their household, is that they could commemorate it. And by commemorating it, you have a special night where you have a nice dinner and you talk about the text. He's like, well, what's the difference? Well, the difference is you're not calling it Passover. The difference is you can do that any time of the year. You don't have to do that on the time that it's supposed to be Passover. That's how you confuse yourself. The difference is if you don't do that because you got to work late, you ain't in sin.
Right.
Or you don't think that you've sinned because it's a family tradition. You have to do it. You don't.
So
you see what I'm saying?
Like
so
the word you was talking about where we say, I wish I could find that scripture. I need to find it. Where the Most High call to mind with your mouth. Remember you had said something. Oh man, I wish I can find it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't remember.
If I wanted to commemorate it or memorialize it, let's say, we have Feast and Gathering coming up. We have Tabernacles coming up. Let's say I put up a tent for like one day, right? Or one night, I bring my family in the tent, and I just talk about, all the like, hey, I wanted to give the idea of what this time period may have looked like, just to show them what it may look like. Even though you probably can't, and when I say look like, I know you can't give them exactly what it looked like. I know you can't do that. But if I put up a tent, slept in it for one night and talk to them during that time about tabernacles, what is that considered to be?
That would be a safe way to commemorate it. That would be a safe way to commemorate it. Okay. But your heart's intent and what you call it matters as well. Like if you're not calling it Sukkot, right. It's like no one. One thing I would say that if someone, and this is definitely the case for Passover, if someone can look at what you're doing and confuse it for Passover, then you're probably blurring the lines on what you are considering your memorialization or commemoration of. You're probably blurring the lines. But how do you feel about it? Like you say, so according to your example, Jay, if I'm being honest, I can't say that that's a problem. Because you're not calling it Feast of Booths, you're not calling it Sukkot. You are doing, let's say, a family gathering where you are going to acknowledge what was done or the history, I mean, it's no difference than, interactive conference. That's what, or with yourself, maybe, like, but it's for one night. It can't be confused. I mean, maybe someone can confuse it, but I think that's safe. I think that's a safe way to do it. But what we have done is that we keep calling things what they are not. And we are sometimes critical of people who don't operate the way that you do, who are not doing these things. People, I mean, the feast days are becoming good business in Israel. Tickets for some of these quote unquote feast days are through the roof, like concerts. So it's now a business. So now people are paying to go to what they think is for Yah, and it's not for Yah. That's what I would say. Like, it's not for Yah. If you're calling it Passover and you're not doing the prescription for Passover, it's not for Yah. It's for you. It's for you.
It's kind of like
you cannot slap his name on something just because you feel a way about it. Again, as we looked at Daniel and Haggai, it's what we call things are important. And if we don't label it, if we don't create that connection, then it's easier to detach ourselves emotionally from these things and separate the idea of you keeping this thing to the Father and you just having a nice dinner with your family in order to bring remembrance to a day. But me personally, I'm not doing it, but I can say that I think that's safe. I don't see a harm in that. But the minute you think that you or someone else is in sin if they don't do what you think they should do for Pesach, or you don't, or like I did when I got some pistachios with yeast and all of a sudden I feel like I'm in sin, like I'm lying to myself. I'm lying to myself about what I think I'm doing for the Father. No matter how well-intentioned I am. Uzzah was very well-intentioned when he tried to put his hand out to catch the ark. When the oxen stumbled, he was very well-intentioned and he died. So be careful in what we call these things. Be careful in how we function with these things. And I would definitely make some sort of line of delineation between what is actually written in the text and how you do it. Like if you're doing a real commemoration of it, excuse me, you don't have to even eat lamb. You know what I'm saying? You don't even have to do that. But we will feel conflicted. So this is why I say like this topic is a bit more complicated.
Yeah. I think
start talking about commemoration of it.
I think that's a personal choice when it comes to the idea of how you commemorate.
Right.
It is 100%. 100%. I don't ever want to confuse that. That is.
Yeah, because some people they can.
But it's not Pesach.
Right. Some people can lie to themselves and say, you know what, we're gonna get the lamb, the herb, and all of this, and you can lie to yourself and say we're not commemorating, right? And you may not be. So the Most High can search your heart as to whether you feel like you keeping the first rather than you commemorating. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's going to be up to the individual to figure out where they stand with the Most High when it comes to that. You know what I'm saying?
Correct. Walk out your own salvation.
I think Deuteronomy